Hello and welcome to the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. Let me tell you, I've started this podcast about 5 times. One of the do-overs was due to the fact that my downstairs neighbors are being so loud right now. And it's kind of making it impossible to think. In the same vein of being distracted, I, for whatever reason, forgot that you have the ability to put your phone on Do Not Disturb, but my phone was blowing up. It was kind of driving me insane. And so I just interrupted myself in the middle of topic 1 to turn off my phone, or at least turn Do Not Disturb on. And then reason number 3 was I was talking about a whole bunch of stuff that I thought that I wanted to talk about. And as I was in the middle of talking about it, I realized none of this matters. None of it is important. It's just like things that were on my brain or things that just happened to me. Also, just as an aside, I'm using my window as primary lighting for the video viewers. I know that you're few and far between, but there are some video viewers. I'm using the lighting from my window primarily. I've got a light on the backdrop here so you can at least see some of the stuff in the background, but the window is what's illuminating my face primarily, and the lighting just keeps changing over and over again. And rather than giving up and stopping this podcast this week and waiting until next week to do an episode, I figured, fuck it, I'm going to let the rage come out. And while, yes, I was talking about a few things that I did not care about, a lot of that was stopped because how can I talk about these things without talking about current affairs, right? I'm going to get to some of the big stuff on my brain. Look, people, just strap in. We're talking about Trump. We're giving him exactly what he wants. In this episode, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that he's doing. We're going to talk about some of the stuff he's done already. Some of the stuff I don't actually think he's doing that I think is just a dog whistle or a thing to just rile you up. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff. So, sorry. Not sorry. But some of the preemptive rage going into this episode was due to the fact that my car was recently broken into. There was a few people on my street who had their vehicles not smashed in and gotten into. Apparently they picked the locks on our vehicle, a handful of people on my street, and they took freaking everything. And fortunately, I don't keep very big valuables in the car. The thing of most value was a big jar full of change that I keep that probably had upwards of, I don't know, $30 worth of change in there. I just toss everything in there and I save it up, and then eventually one day I would turn it into funds for anything. It could have been anything. But they took that. They took a pair of Bluetooth headphones I had in there. They took a blanket from the back. They took a tripod that I have. They took the air pump to inflate my tires. But they didn't smash my window. So they stole, okay, like a dummy, right? Like a dummy. And I'll never do this again. I assure you, future David and listener, I will never leave the title to my vehicle in the vehicle again. I don't know why I did that, dude. I have no idea why I did that. It was one of those things that like you do for so long, you don't realize is weird until somebody else comments on it. I called somebody and I told them that my vehicle was broken into, and they asked what they took, and I was like, oh, they took my registration. They took my proof of insurance. Looks like they took my title. And they're like, wait. You leave your title in your vehicle? I was like, yeah, doesn't everybody? They don't. Everybody doesn't. Not everybody does, rather. So, big whoops, but lesson learned, right? If you're ever going to break into my car again, you're never getting anything, because I'm going to take every single thing out of my vehicle the second I get out of my vehicle. It's just a pain in my ass, right? You extremely inconvenience me, but so be it. That was the salt that started this frustration meal. Oh my God, my downstairs neighbors are being so fucking annoying. Guys, I'm having a time. Okay. This might be a shorter episode because I'm going to rage quit, but I know we've been pretty good at keeping these episodes an hour lately, so let's see if we can make that happen this time around. I'll talk about music at the end. I'll talk about things that I care about at the end, things I'm excited for at the end of this episode. But let's just get it done with, right? Since the last episode, Trump has officially been sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. And as a person who is not a fan of Donald Trump, who has never voted for Donald Trump, has voted against Donald Trump every single time, he is the president of the United States, and the quote, "not my president" movement, it's dumb, right? He is the president. I'm not saying you have to support him. I like being in America because I actually can criticize the president. Who knows how long that's going to last? I don't know. That's just conjecturing. The main thing is I can shit talk this guy because I'm an American, and fuck that guy, to be clear. But the "not my president" thing, it ain't working, right? Didn't work last time. He is the president, and I'm not saying we have to love it, like it, enjoy it in any capacity, but he is. And on the flip side, all the freaking people on the right who were whiny little bitches the entire time that Joe Biden was president, he was the president too. And I also think he sucked. So for either side to say "not my president" or, the left is the problem or the right is the problem, they're all the problem. All presidents are the problem. All politicians are the problem. If I move out of the way, you can literally see a giant Bernie Sanders poster. So, see, I'm human. We're all hypocrites, okay? All right? Don't come for me. You're a hypocrite too. There's one out there that you like. It's probably Bernie, actually, to be honest with you. In 2016, when he got elected, it was shocking, unexpected. I think a lot of people expected Hillary Clinton to win. Look, I think there's actual proof somewhere in the unending universe of data that exists that shows that I think I called Donald Trump winning in 2016. And I think I also called Joe Biden winning in 2020. And then I definitely called Donald Trump winning in 2024. I'm not a guru here. I just calls it like I sees it. And it was obvious in 2016 that people didn't like Hillary Clinton and people wanted extreme change. And that opened the door for him. And if he didn't win in 2016, somebody like that was going to win in 2020. Might not have been Trump, but yeah, in 2016 it was shocking. Let's call it somewhat unexpected. It was unprecedented, that's for sure. And because of that, there was a legitimate, what we would call, resistance movement. I think it was the inauguration day or the day after was the largest single protest, I think maybe in American history. I don't know if it's world history, but there was millions and millions of people out for the Women's March. And then 2016 to 2020 was just, or 2016 through the entirety of 2020 was just protest movement after protest movement after protest movement. And eventually people, even though, look, Trump only lost by like 2%, 3% in 2020. This guy didn't get demolished. He's never been demolished. His base is locked in. His base is committed. They haven't moved. They haven't fluctuated. The people that love this guy, and more people love this guy than ever. How? I don't know, to be honest with you. By the end of this term, we will have had 12 years of Donald Trump running for or being president. Well, shit, it's already been 10 years at this point. He announced he was running for president in 2015 the first time around. So it's been 10 years that this guy's been running for president or actively president. And what do you even say, dude? I'm feeling exhausted. There's certainly a lot of rage. But there's not like, there's certain people on the left or left of center, or just people who aren't aligned with Trump who are like, freaking anybody else, dude. Like anybody else. And it is always important to say that, you know, the lesser of two evils argument does exist. It's always existed. That was the reason people said that you should vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. It was the reason people said you should vote for Joe Biden in 2020. It was the reason people said you should vote for Kamala Harris in 2024. But like, while I do agree that we would be in less of a dire democratic situation, like, I don't know, in relation to literal like democracy, just on the politicians don't care about you note, like the last 3 Democratic nominees don't care about you. They just don't. And Trump definitely doesn't either. Like, let's be super clear here. He cares about you less than the other ones did. But like, in a world full of or in a country full of politicians who don't care about you, if anything, if my vote only does one thing and that tells one side fuck you, that is enough of a motivating factor to get people to vote for the other party. And that has been the central theme of the Trump administration, the Trump campaigns, the Trump agenda is fuck you. I used to think that the fuck your feelings crowd wasn't as big. It was just a small minority of people, but it was like the loudest voice in the room or whatever. No, it is a good portion of the country. A good portion of the country are in the fuck your feelings crowd. We'll talk about more specifics in just a second. I guess I have some notes here. But let's address the other elephant in the room. Dare I say it? The Elon fint in the room. Let's talk about Elon, right? What the fuck was that? If you don't know what I'm talking about, here you go. Here's a quick clip of that.
You know, important, some are not, but this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Shit, dude. If you haven't seen it, if you couldn't see it there, if you're only listening to the audio version, Elon Musk did what could be considered a bit of a strange hand gesture. That looks a lot like one Adolf Hitler. Okay. All right. I've seen a post floating around that says there are 2 groups of people who thought that Elon's hand gesture was a Nazi salute. Anyone left of center and actual Nazis, right? I have maybe a complex take on this. It's probably going to diverge from your own. So, I do not think that Elon Musk is an actual Nazi, right? I don't think he's an actual Nazi. that could still have also been a Nazi salute, because first and foremost, and I think he has said it himself, he's not a billionaire first. He's not a politician first. He's not a businessman, entrepreneur first. He's a troll first. And when trolls get into the fuck your feelings party, into the fuck your feelings club, they're going to troll. And I think it was an actual Nazi salute that he did for the lols. Is that any better than it being an actual intentional Nazi salute because he's a Nazi? No, I don't think so. It's definitely problematic, and it was aggressive to see. I believe this was at the celebration, party, rally, event thing on the night of the inauguration. Elon Musk is now the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise known as Doge. And it's Doge, again, because he's a fucking troll. There was something that I said in the last podcast that I think is relevant here. That, like, so many things happened during the last Trump administration that were legitimately concerning. Like, cause for concern, cause for protest, cause for conversation, worth being angry about. And a lot of what happened during the Trump administration, I don't know if it's the majority, I don't know the percentages here. A lot of what happened during the first Trump administration was just distraction. It was intended to rile you up so that many people could go look at the libs throwing a temper tantrum, or literally just a distraction to be like, look over here while we do this legitimate sinister thing over here. There's plausible deniability for this thing over here. So while you're talking about and focusing on that, we're doing this. We're rolling back regulations here. We're doing X, Y, and Z here to actually destroy the fabric of our democracy. Like the tweets, right? We're focusing on the tweets for 4 years, people. All the way up to and including during the January 6th insurrection. We can't do that this time around, right? We cannot be focused on the small stuff this time around because there is legitimate cause for concern. I think the state of American democracy is in, like, what's the phrase? A 5-alarm fire? Whatever. It's go time, right? Defend the democracy and blah, blah, blah. I think things like this Elon thing are the first big distraction. I don't mean that it's like a 4D chess thing where they're like, okay, Elon, you're going to go out and you're going to do a Nazi salute so that we can do X, Y, and Z. But I think it serves a purpose. So much happens at the same time so that you don't know what to focus on. And this is the first example of that. Everyone is talking about the Elon Musk thing. Was it a Nazi salute? Did he mean to make the Nazi salute? Is he just autistic? Is it multiple things all at once? Why didn't anybody stop him? They all applauded. They all saw in that room him doing the same thing. And now there's other people doing Nazi salutes, they claim ironically, and blah, blah. Meanwhile, Trump has signed so many executive orders, some of which are just statement pieces, right? Like what? They're just fodder, right? Some of which he can't actually do. He's just signing to like get the conversation going or distract you. But some of them are legitimate. Like people, they're whether you like it or not, your lives are about to be disrupted financially because of these mass deportations that are about to take place. He's actually going to deport a lot of people and fast. I think that's another thing that I have complex feelings about. I think that it opens the door to illegal deportations, not deportations of illegal people, like the deportations of your political enemies, whether or not they are naturalized citizens or whatever. And that's why this whole deportation thing has gotten so complex, or a part of the reason that this whole thing has gotten complex, because I actually do think that if you are here illegally and you have committed a violent crime, you should be gone. I don't know why that is necessarily controversial. It appears to be in some circles. It feels pretty nuanced to me. But then you get into like certain job sectors where people haven't committed any crimes other than actually just being here technically illegally, not having filed the proper documentation to be a citizen of the United States, or not having an actual visa or a green card or whatever. They just crossed the border and got here, but are like working. And in any variety of sectors, be it agricultural sectors, or customer service or whatever. Like, these people are paying taxes into a system that they will never benefit from. Like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever government decides to do with your tax dollars, that is not something that they are actually benefiting from. But I don't know how I feel about that, because like the argument for it, other than, now I'm not saying everyone who believes in deporting illegal immigrants is a racist. I'm not saying that, because I think it is more nuanced than that. And I think in this day and age, in this era, we've got to look for the nuance here, rather than calling everyone a Nazi or a racist, because there are actual Nazis and racists among us, and we should look out for the real ones rather than crying wolf. But the argument that many of them will make for the deportations is they're stealing Americans' jobs. They're stealing jobs that American workers want to do and aren't able to do. I don't know if that's true. Look, if suddenly overnight hundreds of thousands of agricultural positions opened up in the country at dairy farms, or like actual farms, fields, whatever sectors I can't think of in this moment, would hundreds of thousands of Americans suddenly go like, oh, hell yeah, finally an opening in this position? I don't know. Maybe that might be true. Show me the data. I would actually love to see that. But as a semi-informed American, which also means I'm semi-uninformed, potentially a bit ignorant, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. So, again, that does create the complexity of, now there are millions of people in this country, and that wasn't necessarily a dog whistle during the Biden administration. Joe Biden, look, I'm not saying Joe Biden went to the border and physically held the door open for millions of illegal immigrants. But during the Biden administration, millions of illegal immigrants did pour into our country. Some for humanitarian refugee purposes, some to work, some, maybe an insignificant, but some portion of people did actually come in here to commit crimes. I don't think we'll ever know the true number there, the true percentages, how that breaks down. So again, there's got to be some sort of nuanced take. How do you survey? How do you look for the people who are here with the intention to commit crimes, or the intention to, or versus the intention to just work, provide a better standard of living for their family. Again, there are some who are here for refugee purposes. How do you parse that out other than through some sort of system at the border where we vet and investigate and I don't know. So the right's answer, Trump's answer, is going to be fuck them all, right? Sending ICE out there to literally round up and deport millions of illegal immigrants, whether or not they've committed violent crimes, whether or not they're here on or with a work visa or whatever. It's like, if you are not a citizen of this country, bye. That's what they're doing, or what they're about to do, what the goal to do is. And that's going to happen fast. And I don't know what you do about that. I don't know how you defend that. I don't know how you... I'm not here with answers. I'm just here with thoughts. That like it's going to get pretty complicated pretty quick. There is an additional layer of the whole don't get distracted thing that I think is important to discuss, because I saw it literally minutes ago. Well, not minutes ago, I guess. Right before I started rolling here. That a single congressperson, with I don't think any co-signers on the bill, but a single member of the House of Representatives, introduced legislation to allow Donald Trump to serve a third term in the White House. Now, it seems like they were pretty crafty about the way that the legislation was written. It does not allow just any president to serve a third term, because then at that point, Obama could run. He would lose in a heartbeat, but Clinton could run. Bush could run. Any of these people could run. Right, that's it. Those are all the former living presidents, because Carter died, Bush Sr. died. So we just got Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump, right? That's it. Well, Biden, right? Look, dude, Biden's going to freaking die by the end of Trump's presidency. I'm betting. That dude's old. And also, speaking of being distracted here, I'm going to get back to this overall point, but the whole, like, Joe Biden's too old to be president thing, I thought was a legitimate criticism. But then we inaugurate Donald Trump, who is now the oldest person to ever be inaugurated as president of the United States. The hypocrisy is annoying. Yes, I actually do think cognitively Donald Trump is better than Joe Biden in a, like, he's actually with it. I think the people around him and his legislation and his ideology is more problematic than Joe Biden, who, again, I thought was a terrible president. But yeah, I feel like your only thing is like based on literally the number, like how old you are. Shut the fuck up. They're both old. Donald Trump is older now at the beginning of this term than Joe Biden was when he started his term. So, whatever. Anyways, on the distracted thing, this legislation that was introduced is only relevant for presidents who serve their terms non-consecutively, which means, whatever, let's run this. The logical conclusion here: if Donald Trump was significantly younger than he is now, and they actually got through this legislation to allow him to serve a third term, then he'd serve a fourth term. Then he'd serve a fifth term. Then he'd serve until he died. So I just... Anyways, the fact that this got introduced in the first place, I'm not saying it's impossible for them to get that through. I think it is intended to be a distraction, though, because, again, I think a good portion of the right and people aligned with that party would be fine with that. But I think it is designed to distract us, so that we talk about it. And so that they can cut to clips of being like, look at these liberals crying. The American people want President Trump, and they're crying. I don't think that. Look, maybe the guy who introduced it actually meant it, and he really wants a third Trump term. But these politicians care more about their own political survival than they do about their principles, right? And when you're in the Republican Party, the only way to remain a member of the Republican Party is to align yourself completely with Trump, is to kiss the ring, you know? If you speak out against Donald Trump as a Republican, like, you're getting primaried, and you're probably going to lose that primary. And I just think that all of this is just show to be like, look, sir, please, sir, I really love you, sir. I love you the mostest, sir. Please do something for my state or for my district or for me in particular. Please, sir. I really do love you, sir. And then what's the point at the end of the day, right? Like, this dude, one day, I know we've all seen the post, one day we're all going to wake up to the news that he's dead. And America's got a lot of shit to figure out after that. To only care about your own political survival is just gross, right? It's gross. And it's not just Republicans. It's not. I think that Democrats have an easier time, trashing their party leader than, do you think whether Trump has this dip into cognitive decline that Joe Biden had or not, do you think any Republicans are going to be like, we need to seriously think about the 25th Amendment here. We really do need to consider ousting this guy as our leader because it's just not good for the party. No, they wouldn't. Again, Democrats suck. Democratic politicians suck. They don't care about you. But I think to a certain degree, they are more willing to criticize their own party leaders than Republicans. So, they're just spineless politicians, more concerned about making money, more concerned about their own political survival. And I think this legislation to give him a third term is sort of exactly that. Now, again, I think maybe one day it might come to a floor vote, but there might be. I think the Republicans in the House only have like a 2-seat majority. And look, I don't know. I actually don't think that I can make any predictions about this because in order to say that it wouldn't happen, I would have to concede that there are some Republican voters who don't want that to happen. And I believe that there probably are. I have less issue with Republican voters than I do with Republican politicians because I do think there is a non-zero, there is a not insignificant amount of people who voted for Donald Trump just because they were absolutely sick and tired of the Biden-Harris administration. And they didn't want to see it happen again. What is going on my street right now? I'm suddenly like so paranoid that anytime anybody comes up to near my vehicle now that they're going to be breaking into my car. Joke's on them. There ain't nothing left to steal. It's all gone. But anyways, yeah. Giving the Republican voters the benefit of the doubt that there is a handful of them who don't actually want that to happen, I don't think that they pressure their congressperson or their senator enough to tell them that they don't want it to happen. I think the bigger thing is the fuck your feelings crowd won, like we talked about. And I think that is the bigger win for them. And they're going to watch you squirm when you share this, or you share the Elon video, or you share a Trump tweet, or you share a Trump this or that or whatever. This dude loves the attention, and he uses it to his advantage to say, look at them. They all hate me and they're coming for me. You've got to do whatever you can, Republicans, to defend me, because I am the most politically persecuted politician that's ever existed, and blah, blah, blah. What do we even talk about at this point, right? The main thing is don't get distracted. We got a long 4 years ahead of us, and if you take the bait on every single tweet, and again, some of this is worth talking about because it is in service of like making sure that we stay informed. And I applaud those who are now getting politically involved. But if I may, as a exhausted member of the original resistance, brother, you're just gonna have to vote. If you want to do anything about it. And I think it's important for you and your mental health to not look to be like, what did he say today? What did they do today? Because right now, at least for the next 2 years, they have power. And if your goal is, oh, I got to stay informed so I can hold their feet to the fire. They are exhumed in flames right now. Is that the phrase? They're burning. And they don't care. They love it. They love it. Because, yeah, they're on fire, but at least you're noticing them. So, that's it. I think that's all we got on politics right now. Just, if you want to pay attention, go ahead. That's fine. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be informed. But don't burn yourself out, because we are freaking 4 days in, dude. There's a long way to go. You got a lot of time here. And I just think it's important for you to not get distracted. And at this point, start looking for people who might actually beat this guy next time around if they are given the opportunity to give him a third term, rather than just the person whose turn it is. It was Hillary Clinton's turn because she ran against Obama, and 8 years before Obama was finished, she almost won in the primary, and so it was her turn. Yes, she was a qualified politician in that she was a Secretary of State for a good period of time. She's also a fucking war hawk, neoliberal, who would do nothing for you. And it would be primarily in service of enriching herself and her family. And then same thing with Joe Biden. Well, he was the most recent vice president, and it's got to be Joe because it's his turn. And same thing with Kamala Harris. She was the most recent vice president because it's her term. Really? Was it Bernie's turn? He almost won both times. I thought it was Bernie's turn. He came close last time. I say that kind of in jest. Look, I would vote for Bernie Sanders today. I don't think he's the best guy at this point because I think the argument does still stand that these people are way too fucking old. All of them. They're all too fucking old. All right, fuck it. I'm getting off of this. That's politics for the day. Stay informed if you must, but don't get distracted and don't burn yourself out. And continue to do the things that you care about in your own life. Effect change in the circles you exist in. Be nice to your neighbor. Make memories with your friends. Create some art. And if you must, run for Congress. Go ahead, do it. If you think that you can make a change by staying informed, run. Because there are plenty of positions in your local and state governments that are unchallenged. There are so many spots in the Michigan government that a single Republican runs for, and is unchallenged by a Democrat or any other party, even though third parties are bunk at this point. I think all politics is bunk at this point. But if you think that you can affect change, run for Congress, run for city council, run for chair of the something board, and do something. Okay, I'm going to clip, and then we're going to come back with some other news. All right. Just a quick little wrap up. Right now, Midwest Skies, my band, is in a show lull as we work on writing and recording new music. We are also in the process of saving for a van. We want to tour this summer, and by golly, we're going to do it. So, if you listen from outside the state of Michigan and you'd like us to come to your city or your state, let me know. Get us in touch with some venues, or let us know of some venues or bands that we should get in touch with. Because we want to play with your favorite bands in your area. We want to play at your favorite venues. And, of course, we'll give you some shouts out because you hooked us up with the spot. I also, I'll do this last little plug here that I don't really do often. It's thrown down in the description here of every episode. But if you would like to, look, this is such a first world thing, and this is a pick me energy type request, and maybe it's selfish and whatever. But if you would like to help us buy this van, I have a Patreon. Donations for the Patreon, which you can make just one-time donations. You don't have to do monthly. You can donate as little as $1. If you would like to become a member of the Patreon, all of those funds up until we buy that van is going to be tossed in. Did I say banned? If you would like to help us contribute to buying a van so that we can tour this summer, all Patreon donations will go to the band van funds. So, maybe we can do a little thing where, this is fun. If you want your name to be inscribed on the van somewhere, on some sort of posting or listing that says like, I helped buy this. Like, you walk through those little like parks and you see the walkway made of brick. And it's like, this park was made possible by the help of our kind patrons and donations. Here they are. And then every brick has somebody's name on it. Maybe we can do something like that. I'll make that pitch to the guys this weekend. So if you'd like to help us in that regard, head to the Patreon in the link in the description, become a member. And then if you'd like to receive special content or shout outs or whatever at that point, let me know what we could do for the Patreon subscribers. I would really like to make this some sort of sustainable source of income to fund the podcast and the podcast creative endeavors in the future, whether that's about booking guests or whatever. Like, I want to make this a community. And yes, of course, when you add monetary value to something, sure, I am technically benefiting from that financially, but that's not going into like buying me lunch or paying my bills or whatever. Like I want to fund an expansion of creativity centered around the A.D.H.Deep-Dive podcast, expanding this community, building a network of creatives. And you can help by going to patreon.com/ I'm not 100% sure because I don't have any patrons to the Patreon. And I don't check it often. So if you can think of any exclusive content that you'd like to receive as a member of the Patreon, let me know. Go to Cat and Crew, KATANDCREW.com, and enter the promo code Monday. That's MUNDAY for 10% off your first purchase. There's also a link in the description to join my Upside Network. It is a small pooling of funds that you can use to invest in your own self. If gas is $3 a gallon, you look for the local gas station near you that's part of the Upside Network. You spend the money you're already spending and get actual cashback rewards that can go into your own bank account. You can turn them into gift cards. You can let it sit there and pool and save. And users who use my link for the first time. I think they got rid of their $5 bonus because Upside is starting to expand. But you do get an extra cashback bonus. And then from there, if anybody uses your link, you get 1 cent for every gallon they use or that they purchase for the rest of your life. So you can create your own little network of Upside users. Frig, I had a whole lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about today that I just couldn't bring myself to talk about because there was too much of this shit on my mind. And I'm sorry that a lot of the episodes lately have been about politics. I don't know if it's what you come here for, but if you come here to hear my thoughts on things, this is what I've been thinking about. So thank you for listening to the A.D.H. Deep Dive podcast, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. I love you guys, and I will see you next time.